At some point or another, most all of my friends have dealt with this gift that I have, where I can hear from their loved ones, from my ancestors all my life. I have been so troubled about everything that we're seeing and couldn't quite figure out for years, because I lived in Missouri, I couldn't figure out why they were having a war, basically making 10-year-old little girls have babies. I just watched a video, I just posted it to Instagram because Mark Zuckerberg isn't stupid enough to make sure that this information isn't getting out. Like now, all kinds of extra photos are coming out from girls that were in those calendar girls situations. Women are now coming out in droves, explaining what happened to them. It's all over on Threads. All of it. Because Mark Zuckerberg can read the room. I woke up a couple nights ago with an absolutely knowing, like it just hit me like a freight train, about why did he ever run for office? Why did he ever decide to be president? Why did, at the very same time, there was a war on, we already had indigenous children leaving left and right, day after day, right? But then why was there such a war on immigrants and the unhoused, and suddenly a complete cutting of all mental health services? Why? So that he could take the invisible people. They could start churning children into the foster care system. By the way, the foster care system, at least in Missouri, loses about 1,600 children a year. That's why CPS has always been involved. If you listen to Sasha Riley's tapes, exactly. I honestly feel that they dropped all this information on Trump, along with the golf courses. If you think about everything that we just heard yesterday, it all adds up completely. No one could figure out why he would bury his wife on a golf course. No one could figure out why. The pro-choice women could never figure out why, if they call themselves pro-life, then why wouldn't they be doing everything they could for the children and the mothers? Why wouldn't they be giving health care? A CIA agent, who's no longer with us, actually explained that there are places where they, just exactly like what Sasha Riley said, that there are women that breed children just to sell them. Those children come with no birth certificate so that they can't be found. They also can't find, once someone goes into the system, there's no one to say that they're missing. Once indigenous children have been ignored for years. But the thing that I could never figure out is, why did he come onto the scene? It's a lot cheaper to have us pay with our tax dollars for him to round up children, get more bodies, for his real cash crop, which has always been funneling children to these people. That's why they went into Ukraine and took all those babies. That's why he separated babies at the border. And Joe Biden was uncovering and keeping track of all the children in Ukraine. Trump came along and disbanded all of that. They've been flying in children internationally for years, says the CIA agent that they took out. The CIA is involved. If you listen to the tapes yesterday, the downloads yesterday, the FBI is involved all the way up. Of course, we know the judges are involved. They give these guys a slap on the wrist when they do get caught, so they can get back out there and help again. It's all, cartel is involved. Absolutely. He's completely owned by the blue and white. He's completely owned by Russia. Apparently, even the one that fell down the stairs was possibly owned by France. We absolutely know that the current Mrs. that can't stand him was completely owned by Jeffrey. They've all been owned. And the reason that he came onto the stage, in my ADHD, mathematic savant brain, is because he needed to use our tax dollars to funnel more people, because their ability to go pick up girls in rural towns and off of bus stops was lost. In 2013, someone came onto Shark Tank with the invention of what they later branded in 2014 as the Ring camera. And then in 2015, that went national, and every single block had a Ring camera. Do you realize that if we put all these people behind bars, no matter how many bars, or no, not even behind bars, they can go straight into the old-fashioned old days, where they all go at once? We can have our own Handmaid's Tale, if you know what I mean. No, honest to God, do you realize that if we get rid of all of this, and it looks like possibly the Grand Poobah in charge of all of it is absolutely the man that some people still support? Do you realize that most of this started in the 1980s? Before then, Henry Kissinger and George H.W. Bush were involved. But do you realize if we end all of this, that all of our children could go back to riding bikes, of the life that we had in Gen X? Do you realize that your grandchildren could walk to the swimming pool, walk to the grocery store, take $5 and walk down the street? We could be in charge of prices. we could be in charge of everything again, and our children could have real life freedom, not just sitting at home on video games until they get bullied and depressed. They could go back and have the life that we once had. Do you realize that? Do you realize that Donald Trump was never a businessman? He picked up rent for his father. Everybody needs to go watch The Apprentice today. That man, when he said that Putin wasn't that bad because we do terrible things here, they're starting to come out with more and more testimony about 12-year-old girls that called in and said that they didn't want to become fertilizer. Everything Sasha said was true. I think that's why they're trying to suppress all of it, because they understood that people would believe an Iraqi war veteran. A man came up, I saw a video today about a man that said that anybody that's still evangelical and supporting him, if they do not peel away now, they will be known as accomplices. I want you to think about that. The churches should be empty tomorrow. And that's why they had a war on the journalists, because the churches are complicit. The churches have just those same men. Jesus told us we didn't need to go to a church. Let's remember that.